But yeah, under this scheme, like we got given like at the time these were like top of the line like HP Pavilion laptops, and they were amazing. And we got them, and the school kind of realized like, oh, yeah, there's not really any protection on them, so to speak. So we could like rewrite the operating system, put Linux on it if we wanted to. It was like, well, get outplayed, idiots! You forgot to lock that away from us. So they ended up like, so they gave them to. We were supposed to get them at like the start of year 10 to start like the year off strong with. We didn't get them till like halfway through the year.
Yeah,
and then they got recalled because people were doing things like, well, you know, they installed Steam, then installed Modern Warfare 3, then we started running our own lobbies in the classroom, and as you can gather, that didn't end well.
Yeah, we were doing the same thing. We had a different bit of a scheme because this wasn't like a big government scheme, but we were a new school, or sort of a new school. I went to what used to be Smithfield High, which is obviously now Mark Oliphant College. So it was
Changing the name doesn't count, by the way.
Yeah, no. If you name it after just some professor, it doesn't make a different school. So we were all given MacBooks because we were part of like an Apple testing school. We were like the testing school. We were in the beta for Google Docs. We were given like MacBooks. Bad idea. Went just as poorly as it went for that. Just because it's a MacBook doesn't mean that you can't run a game on it. We managed to get COD 4 running on it just fine, and World at War, and Halo, and a bunch of other games. But yeah, we did the exact same thing. So it would be in the middle of class, people would be like, oh, let's just set up a COD 4 server. Let's do that. And the teachers just stopped caring at some point because they're just like, we can't do anything to stop them.
No. Thinking back on it now, I don't know why I didn't order. I think it was I didn't do it mainly because of like the price of hardware was like ridiculous.
Yeah,
because this was like before like this was the heyday of like quad cores. And I think I didn't do this mainly because like hardware prices were so expensive, and you know, you're not even a uni student that's broke. You're a high school student that's still living at home. And I was like, at the time, I was like still paying to like do driving lessons and like get my driver's license and all that good stuff. But what I should have done was I should have just ripped out like the hard drive that they had in it, and then just put my own in there, and then just run my own operating system. Because I used to do like,
I should have done that. If I knew what I knew now, that's what I would have done.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would have done too. Because they would have like, they occasionally did like random spot checks where they would like take your laptops and run it. And I know because that's how like some of my friends got caught out. They didn't like rip the hard drives out. They actually like formatted the hard drive and then just reinstalled like Windows 7. Yeah, it was Windows 7. Windows 7 Professional. They just reinstalled that and then just like. So then when we got random spot check, because like when we got given them, they had then hired like an actual IT guy who was, well, he was moderately qualified. I don't actually know his qualifications. I'm assuming he was qualified, but he knew enough to question me one day when I asked him for the administrator password to look at the Linus Tech Tip forums, but neither here nor there.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was gonna. Anyway, that's another story. Anyway, so like he would just running some diagnostic software, and it required administrator privilege. So they got caught when he went to enter in the administrator privilege. The administrator password, and the password was rejected because they were running their own operating system with their own administrator. So I was like, well, get outplayed, idiots. But yeah, like I said, thinking back on it now, I should have just pulled a hard drive.
Oh, we had a really great IT team the first year I was there. So grade 8, I think they'd only just brought in the laptops like in the past year or two, because that's when the school, like year 8 was when we actually went over to being Mark Oliphant College. So the bringing the laptops in was like a fairly new thing. Plus it was a bit after the scheme ended. So actually, it would have been like the year after the scheme ended, I think. What year is it now? 2020?
2020.
Yeah, so actually, no, it would have been in the scheme. So, yeah, it would have been in the scheme when we got the laptops. Because I would have been... What's it now? So, 4 years into uni, I had a gap year. So, yeah, it would have been 2000... Long time ago. Before 2010. was I was gonna say right. So our IT team was fucking useless at the time.
Trust me, I know. I know the feeling.
No, I mean like they had an admin password that was set to admin. They didn't change the default admin password. So the students found out, and we kept using it for a couple of weeks. They didn't know it was getting used, so we were just like turning off the search filtering, installing whatever we wanted, and then eventually they caught on to it and changed the password. Someone found the password again because a teacher had the password for it and used it in class, and someone just saw the password.
Nice. I can remember. Oh, what was it now? So like in our computer labs, they never used to be password protected. Like they would all just run whatever. So like some of these computers were just absolute trash, and like the USBs that I used to take to school to like save my work on. By the time I finished school, they had like the the computer version of AIDS. Like they had so much malware on them that it wasn't even funny. Anyway,
I've got a malware story to talk about in just a moment. It actually has to do with my school again, but go on with what you're saying. It's great.
Gotta love malware. Anyway, we were we used to run like servers and all that stuff, and then they started they slowly started rolling out this Windows 7 Enterprise update. And so then the IT team would require an administrator password. So that kind of ruined all our fun. But then we worked out with like some things you didn't actually have to install. So for example, we found games like Urban Terror, which is
Urban Terror was fun. I love that game.
Yeah. I tried to get like a LAN server of that together again. Their server tools are not good. They're actually quite
arse. I don't know how we ever got that game working.
LAN servers run fine if you actually because I tried to register a server with Urban Terror so that it'd be displayed to the public.
Okay.
It didn't end well. I myself could find it. Everyone else who was searching for the server couldn't find it. I even gave them like a command to enter in the console to connect to the IP. Still couldn't connect, even though I was like physically on the server running around playing. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We got that working. We also had Battlefield 1942.
Oh, nice.
That I love that game so much. And that's Battlefield 5 really broke my heart because I was expecting like 1942 remastered, and then they just went and fucked it up. Like we were this close to greatness, and you had to fuck it up. Anyway, our you were saying about like the search filtering and stuff. Yeah. Our search filtering, because we were a government we're an area school, which means like it's the area around here. So it's not just people from like this town; it's like the next town over, etc., etc.
Right. Yeah.
So we had like all our government. We had all our internet filtering done by a different system, and so the teachers would have their staff accounts, which could override like the search filtering. One teacher gave their password to their biology students because they were trying to write research papers, and a lot of the research papers were blocked for, I believe the reason given was heresy and ungodlike crimes against the church. Anyway,
I hope that was actually the reason. That's fucking amazing.
No, unfortunately not. It was just it was some bullshit reason.
I always love that. It's just basic stuff. It was just like, oh, we're just gonna block this. Like, oh, it's entirely educational. Like, I had Wikipedia pages blocked.
It's funny you should mention that. There was one point during my schooling life where they actually unironically blocked the entirety of Wikipedia. I kid you not.
I think we had Yahoo blocked at one point. That was an amusing time.
Yeah, that was mildly amusing.
Anyway, you blocked
for us. The entirety of it was blocked, and this wasn't set by the state government or anything. This was like a manual thing put in by the teachers, and I was like, oh my,
those kids are learning too much.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because when you look into Wikipedia, they have like strict formatting and editing guides that everyone has to follow. So, and if not, just use the sources underneath, idiot. It's not hard. Anyway, yeah, teacher gave out their like override password, and like for their biology students because they needed it to find like research papers, and a lot of the research papers are blocked because crimes against the church, etc., etc.
And then everyone had the password by the next day.
Yeah. So yeah, by the next day, like everyone had it. The coincidental thing was the next week, it had like because you have to change your password every so often.
Yeah.
Someone just brute forced it, and because there was a number in it, they just incremented the number by 1, worked, and then everybody had it again. And yeah, we kept doing that, and then we kept incrementing it by 1 every time it didn't work, and here we are.
Yeah, the same thing happens at my work. I'm not going to tell you the base password, but every single every single staff account in my work is a word, and every time they have to change this password, increment by 1, which is not safe.
Yeah. Nah.
Luckily, most of them make up words and don't just use like car or like house. They'll just make something up and then put a number on the end. But please don't do that. It's a very bad idea.